Good afternoon. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission, and I call this meeting of the Commission to order on June 23rd, 2022 at 1:03 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
Present.
Commissioner Phillips.
Present.
Commissioner Paratic.
No.
Commissioner Paratic is not present. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I know that Commissioner Paratic would very much like to be with us today. She unfortunately yesterday highlighted a panel discussion in Washington, D.C. on energy storage resources, an area where she has considerable. We're just going to see how this one plays out. All right. She unfortunately was in D.C. yesterday highlighting a panel discussion on energy storage resources, an area where she has considerable expertise, and unfortunately fell victim to some of the challenges in the travel industry that I think have been getting a fair amount of attention. So we will certainly miss her presence here today, and we may even hear from her later in the agenda, but won't be participating in the discussion per the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway in Lansing. We are also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Live Event. It is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via the live stream, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the closed caption or CC button in the lower right corner of the screen. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess. We'll continue here in person. The meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comment via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. For reference, this email is also included in the Q&A feature on the live stream event on your computer and in the meeting notice. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comment as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this: comment should be limited to one per person and can be made verbally in person or by calling in or in writing via the live stream Q&A feature. If you are participating via Teams application, you can use the Q&A feature and type your comments in the box anytime during the meeting, and we will have those queued up to read. The Q&A function should be used to submit public comments directed to the Commission. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so either in person or by calling into the meeting by phone. And to minimize disruptions, as we've already heard, attendees participating by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting. Commissioner Phillips.
I motion to approve the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the May 26, 2022 Commission meeting.
I move for the approval of the minutes from the May 26, 2022 Commission meeting.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the May 22nd, 2022 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote of those present. The Commission meeting minutes of May 26, 2022 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. And today the Commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Lisa Gold, and I recognize Ms. Gold. And Ms. Gold, I believe you're on mute. Now try.
Someone else muted me, so I
There we
thought
go.
I thought I was supposed to stay on mute because I wasn't the one who muted myself. Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 5 communications matters, 4 electric matters, and 2 steam matters. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote of those present. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A1 is case number U-18350, which involves an application filed by Alpena Power Company requesting ex parte approval of its voluntary green pricing program. The order before you approves the application.
Thank you. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-18350.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-18350 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A4 is case number U-21090, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company for approval of its integrated resource plan pursuant to MCL 460.6T. Staff member Megan Koliopoulos will describe this order.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. Good afternoon, Chair Scripps, Commissioner Phillips, and Peretick, and all those present. My name is Megan Koliopoulos, and I'm an analyst in the Resource Adequacy and Retail Choice section in the Energy Resources Division. On June 30th, 2021, Consumers Energy filed an application requesting approval of the company's Integrated Resource Plan, or IRP, pursuant to Section 6T of 2016 Public Act 341 MCL 460.6T, the Commission's June 7th, 2019 order approving settlement agreement in case number U-20165 and all other orders in applicable law. In this case, there were 18 parties total, 15 interveners, permissive intervention for one group, the Commission staff, and Consumers Energy. On April 20th, 2022, the company entered into a settlement agreement with 14 other parties, thus extending the statutory deadline which was granted by the Commission. After the draft settlement was distributed, parties either objected to the settlement, filed letters of non-objection, filed direct testimony, or filed rebuttal testimony. At this time, staff testified that it recommended approval of the contested settlement in its entirety. Of the 18 parties, 11 signed onto the settlement or signed a non-objection to the settlement agreement. The Commission has reviewed Consumers Energy Company's Integrated Resource Plan and finds that it is in the public interest and approves the settlement agreement. The order before you approves the following as part of the settlement agreement. The commitment that consumers retire Campbell coal-fired units 1, 2, and 3 in 2025, which will result in savings to ratepayers, reduce the production of environmental pollutants such as SO2 and NOx, and particulate matter, and advance Michigan's clean energy goals as outlined in the My Healthy Climate Plan, as well as provide public health benefits. The agreement that consumers will purchase the Covert natural gas plant in 2023, which will add 1,114 zonal resource credits, or ZRCs, to MISO Zone 7 to support reliability for consumers, as well as overall resource adequacy of the zone. The commitment to conduct a 2-part one-time solicitation for 500 ZRCs of capacity and associated energy and renewable energy credits, or RECs, in the first tranche, and 200 ZRCs of capacity and associated energy and RECs in the second tranche, which will provide additional clean capacity resources for consumers' portfolio. The approval for consumers to deploy the battery program outlined in the rebuttal testimony in the principal case, which will formalize an important component of a clearer energy grid while enhancing reliability and resource adequacy. The approval to seek recovery of the unrecovered book value and decommissioning costs of retiring coal units through regulatory asset treatment rather than continued recovery through traditional rate making, which provides the potential for customer savings. The commitment that consumers will donate $5 million in shareholder funds to support bill assistance for low-income customers, along with continued annual donations. The agreement that consumers will provide analysis in its next IRP, including total emissions, annual particulate matter, health impacts, and environmental justice screening tool, projected low-income energy efficiency participation levels, and publicly available rooftop solar adoption rates, and transmission import analysis. The agreement that consumers will develop a distributed generation as a resource model approach that considers economic distribution connected solar to be modeled by bundling resources installed at the customer level to compare the total economic cost to the utility of distributed generation as a resource to other selectable supply side resources, consistent with the methodology used for energy waste reduction. The agreement that consumers will be carbon neutral by 2040 and retire all coal generation by 2025, 14 years ahead of the original timeline. And finally, the commitment that consumers will take steps to engage and gather input from the public prior to the filing of its next IRP with the Commission, which will ensure that additional information and perspectives are available to inform both the company's assessment of its future resource options, as well as Commission's and stakeholder review of its proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Koliopoulos. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21090.
I second the motion. Before we vote, I want to thank the parties involved in this case, including both those who supported the settlement agreement, those that filed statements of non-objection, and those that opposed it. It's critically important that we have robust dialogue on some of these fundamental issues on how best to ensure reliability and resource adequacy and responsibly manage the ongoing energy transition. And I think that we had that in this case, both throughout the pendency of the main proceeding and through the process of evaluating this contested settlement agreement. While reliability and resource adequacy are only part of the picture in terms of factors outlined in statute that need to be considered, they have taken on even greater importance given the capacity position of both Michigan and the MISO region. And at the end of the day, this settlement agreement before us improves the resource adequacy position of Zone 7, both in the short term and on a going forward basis. In the short term, the acquisition of the Covert plant will transfer approximately 1,100 zonal resource credits from PJM into MISO Zone 7, providing much needed additional capacity as soon as next year to both Consumers Energy, Zone 7 as a whole, and indeed the rest of MISO. Longer term, continuing to operate Karn 3 and 4 supports consumers' attainment of planning reserve margin requirements. It maintains more than 780 zonal resource credits in the company's portfolio, and the settlement agreement represents a resource adequacy improvement over the company's original proposed course of action and provides for approximately 400 zonal resource credits of new resources within MISO Zone 7 by 2025, in addition to the one-time solicitation for 700 megawatts set out in the settlement agreement and the addition of solar and energy storage resources as we go forward. And in addition, the provisions provide for potential customer savings, both over the status quo and the proposed course of action. And then finally, just to note that while we were satisfied that this settlement agreement ultimately does move us forward in terms of our capacity position, we also want to make sure that that remains the case. And so we are including in the order a directive to our staff to include in the integrated resource planning parameters the consideration of the impacts of a company's proposed course of action on the resource adequacy of both its own customers and the MISO local resource zone or respective PJM zone and neighboring zones to ensure that we've got needed capacity over the long term. So again, I appreciate Judge Wallace for her effective handling of this proceeding, the many parties who provided a great record on which to base this decision and believe that it moves us significantly forward in this state. Is there any additional discussion?
My comments will be very brief, but we often talk amongst the three of us that one of the truly essential characteristics of our role as state regulators is the need for balance, and that the key challenges that all regulators across the country really face this decade will be the balancing of consumer and grid reliability with continued resource adequacy and the growing momentum in the deployment of new technologies and public and private efforts to plan for and strategize around swift decarbonization. This balance is exhibited in the terms of the settlement agreement that is for our approval today, and I also once again thank the interveners, our staff, and others for their willingness to seek compromise and reach the important terms outlined by the chair and our presenter today in this settlement agreement. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21090 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A3 is case numbers U-21099 et al., which include dockets opened on the Commission's own motion for the receipt of capacity demonstration filings required by MCL 460.6W. Staff member Jesse Harlow will describe this order.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. Good afternoon, Commissioner Phillips, Chair Scripps, Commission staff, members of the public, and good afternoon remotely to Commissioner Paratic. My name is Jesse Harlow, and I'm a manager of the Resource Adequacy and Retail Choice section. Today, I'm providing an overview of the annual capacity demonstration order before you in case number U-21099. Public Act 341 of 2016, Section 6W requires each rate-regulated electric utility, alternative electric supplier, cooperative electric utility, and municipally owned electric utility to annually demonstrate to the Commission that it owns or has contractual rights to sufficient capacity to meet its independent system operator or ISO capacity obligations 4 years forward. Regulated electric utility demonstrations are filed December 1st of each year, while all other load serving entities or LSCs file on the 7th business day of February. The Commission's July 2nd, 2021 order opened this docket requiring LSCs to file demonstrations for the 2025-2026 planning year. In addition, it accepted the staff's report for the previous demonstration filing and set a date of March 25, 2022 for the staff to file its report for the 2025-2026 capacity demonstration planning year. As required, staff filed its 5th annual report on March 25th, 2022. In its report, staff explained that it has seen a tightening of resources within all of the MISO northern and central regions. This is due to the retirement of baseload resources, increased reliance on intermittent resources, and supply chain issues causing delays in the construction of new renewable resources meant to replace baseload generating facilities. It also highlights some potential changes within MISO to help address these capacity constraints, such as switching to a seasonal construct from the current peak load contribution construct, a minimum capacity obligation, and the participation of distributed energy resource aggregation. In addition, staff explained that one LSC, Spartan Renewable Energy Inc., or Spartan, failed to demonstrate for 9.4 megawatts of load. Staff concluded its report with a recommendation that for future capacity demonstrations, the Commission direct LSCs to supplement capacity demonstration filings subsequent to any Commission order, regulatory decision, or legal ruling at such time that a decision is made. In response to the staff report, Spartan filed a motion for clarification or alternatively a declaratory ruling. In its motion, Spartan requests that the Commission clarify the staff's report to represent that it was not deficient in its capacity demonstration, as it claims Spartan will not serve the 9.4 megawatts of load in planning year 2025-2026. Spartan states that since the contract with this customer expires in 2025, the Commission should clarify that it should not be required to demonstrate for this load. Since this is the first time the situation has taken place, Spartan contends that the Commission should direct the incumbent utility to assess the state reliability mechanism capacity charge on the customer. In closing, Spartan requests that the Commission find that it has demonstrated sufficient capacity for the 2025-2026 planning year. The order before you accepts staff's 5th annual capacity demonstration report and staff's recommendation to direct LSCs to supplement filings subsequent to any Commission order, regulatory decision, or legal ruling at such time that a decision is made. In response to staff's concern regarding the tightening of resources within MISO, and given that MISO Local Resource Zone, or LRZs 1 through 7 cleared at the cost of new entry subsequent to the filing of staff's report, the Commission is seeking input from LSCs and stakeholders on topics related to potential solutions to improve the capacity position of Michigan's LRZ. As such, the Commission is initiating a comment period on the following. Number 1. In the August 8, 2019 order in case number U20348, the Commission continued the ban on Michigan retail electric customers, either individually or through aggregations, of Commission jurisdictional electric utilities from bidding demand response or DR resources into RTO wholesale markets. In the October 29, 2020 order in the same docket, the Commission sought comments on whether to lift this ban on Michigan retail electric customers of Commission jurisdictional electric utilities from bidding DR resources into RTO wholesale markets, but thus far, the Commission has declined to take additional action. In light of the tightening capacity market within the MISO footprint and LRZ 7 in particular, the Commission seeks comment on whether the ban on DR aggregation described in the August 8 order should now be lifted. Number 2, in the April 8, 2021 order in case number U21032, the Commission sought comment regarding the effect of FERC Order 841, which requires each RTO and ISO to revise its tariff to establish a participation model consisting of market rules that facilitate the participation of energy storage devices, or ESRs, in the RTO/ISO markets. In the August 11, 2021 order in the same docket, the Commission encouraged investor-owned utilities to propose pilot programs involving well-designed retail tariffs that facilitate the integrations of ESRs onto the electric grid and account for the full value stack of these ESRs. In the context of the resource adequacy concerns expressed in this order and in the staff report, the Commission seeks comment on whether the Commission should now allow the simultaneous participation of ESRs in the wholesale and retail markets. Number 3, the Commission seeks comment on whether it should consider setting a 4-year forward capacity obligation under Section 6W of Act 341 that is higher than MISO's prompt year planning reserve margin requirement to encourage the development of additional capacity with the aim of protecting the future resource adequacy and reliability of service for Michigan retail electric customers. The Commission seeks specific comment on how such a capacity obligation should be determined and calculated, and how the Commission should proceed in this manner. Number 4, as stated in the staff report, the Commission has not yet imposed a local clearing requirement, or LCR, on individual LSCs pursuant to MCL 466W. Subsequent to the August 20th order, the Court of Appeals issued a decision in the remanded proceeding, finding that the September 15th order did not equate to administrative rules in violation of the APA and did not exceed the Commission's authority granted by the legislature. While the Court of Appeals has upheld the Commission's authority to impose an LCR individually, litigation regarding the individual LCR continues at the federal level, and the stay in case number U18444 remains in effect. However, in light of the resource adequacy concerns expressed in this order and the staff report, the Commission seeks comment on whether it should lift the stay in case number U18444 and take further action to set an LCR for Michigan LSCs pursuant to Section 6W for future planning years. Number 5, the Commission seeks additional comment on what actions or policies may be taken to maximize the benefits of the benefits to reliability of the state's transmission connections to not only the rest of MISO, but also to PJM in the Ontario Independent Electricity System Operator, including ways to boost those transmission connections. Number 6, the Commission seeks comment on what improvements should be pursued in RTO markets to better account for and to send better market signals to merchant and/or non-utility owned generators to inform both generation additions and retirements. Number 7, considering that some incumbent utilities have tariff provisions that stipulate a waiting period before a choice customer can return to the electric service of the incumbent utility, the Commission seeks comment as to under what conditions or circumstances should a choice customer be automatically transferred back to the incumbent utility in the event the customer is without an electric service provider, and whether such a transfer provision should be included in utility tariffs. And finally, number 8, the Commission seeks and encourages comment on any additional measures the Commission should consider to enhance the state's reliability and resource adequacy position. Comments on these 8 items are due in this docket on or before August 1, 2022. In addition to comments on the above questions, staff is directed to conduct a technical conference to determine what changes, if any, are necessary to the current capacity demonstration requirements with respect to the potential transition to a seasonal construct, and to file a report in this docket. This technical conference will take place should FERC approve the seasonal resource adequacy construct within MISO. With respect to Spartan's capacity deficiency, the Commission explains that it has a statutory obligation to ensure that resource adequacy is maintained. As such, the Commission finds that a show cause case is warranted. Therefore, the Commission is opening a proceeding in case number U21250 to allow Spartan to show cause why it should not be found in violation of its capacity demonstration requirements for the 2025-2026 planning year. This order appears later today in the agenda. Because the Commission has determined a show cause proceeding is appropriate, Spartan's motion for clarification or alternatively a declaratory ruling is denied as moot. Finally, the order before you opens case number U21225 and directs LSCs to demonstrate capacity resources for the 2026-2027 planning year and all interim years by December 1, 2023 and February 9th, 2023 as required by Section 6W of Public Act 341. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Harlow, for your very descriptive presentation today. There is a lot here, a lot of substance, and so again, thank you for you and your team's work as well as providing us with that summary and the ambiance of your workspace as well. I move for the approval of the order in case numbers U-21099 et al.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? I do have a few comments. There's been a lot of discussion and attention recently on the capacity and resource adequacy position, both of Michigan and of the broader MISO footprint, deservedly so, and I think that reflects the importance of maintaining reliability on a going forward basis. And today, in addition to the additional capacity resources contained in the consumer's IRP that we just approved, the order in this case takes what I believe is a comprehensive approach to making sure we're doing everything we can at the state level to ensure reliability. As Mr. Harlow mentioned, it's everything from looking at how to potentially add new resources in terms of demand response aggregation and dual participation of energy storage resources, state level efforts around reliability even within the RTO construct, including the potential of a state level PRMR, moving forward with the local clearing requirement, even given pending litigation, and consideration of establishing a provider of last resort framework in instances where alternative electric suppliers stop serving customers. as well as looking at opportunities to maximize our transmission connections, both within MISO and with other adjacent regional transmission organizations, what efforts we can recommend at the RTO level in terms of market improvements to send clearer price signals, and ensuring that we're positioned to rapidly respond to any changes around minimum capacity obligations or accreditation at the RTO level, including those currently pending at FERC. And then also moving forward to address the issue where one alternative electric supplier has said it will no longer serve a current customer in the 2026 planning year, where that customer's contract ends in 2025, making sure that we're fulfilling our statutory responsibilities around resource adequacy and reliability. So this is a comprehensive approach. We're at this point taking comments on a number of these things, wanting to further inform our consideration of the many options on this menu of potential changes that we might make to our regulatory framework. But I think underlying that is a sense that the framework established in statute on a bipartisan basis over several energy reforms in the last 20 years has given us a balanced approach to this that includes both the capacity demonstration process and a 4-year out look, as well as the integrated resource planning requirements that look both at near-term and long-term reliability. And I think that regulatory framework, again, embedded in statute, is strong and provides us with the tools that we need to ensure that as much as we can within the broader RTO framework, we're doing everything that we can at the state level to maintain reliability. So I appreciate staff's work on the capacity demonstration report. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of staff and advisors in helping to develop this list of options and potential considerations, and look forward to what I hope will be robust input from utilities, other load-serving entities, and indeed other stakeholders to ensure that we get this framework right.
No other further.
Excellent. We will now move to the vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21099 et al. Is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A4 is case number U-21173, which involves an application filed by Northern States Power Company seeking ex parte approval of its voluntary green pricing program. The order before you sets deadlines for the filing of initial comments and reply comments as described in the order.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21173.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We're back to business as usual. We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21173 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A5 is case number U-21178, which involves an application of Indiana-Michigan Power Company for ex parte approval of a voluntary curtailment service rider. The order before you approves the application.
I move to approve the order in case number U-21178.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21178 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A6 is case number U-21239, which involves an application filed by DTE Electric Company seeking ex parte approval to revise its rider number 5. The order before you approves the application.
I motion for the approval of the order in case number U-21239.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21239 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A7 is case number U-21250, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion initiating an action to require Spartan Renewable Energy, Inc. to show cause why it should not be found in violation of MCL 460.6W subsection 8. The order before you directs Spartan Renewable Energy, Inc. to appear at a pre-hearing conference and to pre-file evidence.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21250. U-21250.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21250 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4B1 is case number U-21167, which involves an application by Presskill Electric and Gas Co-op for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to provide natural gas service in Wilson Township, Alpena County, Michigan. The order before you approves a settlement agreement resolving all issues in the case.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21167.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21167 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4B2 is case numbers U-21247 et al., which involve a matter on the Commission's own motion to commence formal alternative gas supplier license revocation proceedings against RealG LLC, DBA RealG Energy. The order before you directs that licensee to intervene in this case no later than July 14th, 2022, and sets a hearing date for July 26th, 2022.
I move for the approval of the order in case numbers U-21247 et al.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion?
I do have some comments to make. Thank you, Chair. First, I would like to thank our staff for their ongoing engagement and pursuit in seeking cooperation and compliance from RealG LLC, also referred to as RealG Energy Services, over the last 2 years, as well as thank our staff who are on the front lines in terms of responding and providing resolution to consumer complaints. Your continued responsiveness to customer complaints and principled investigation of allegations against the company at issue has been thorough, balanced, and emphasizes that our team will continue to protect customers by upholding the letter and spirit of the enabling statute that established Michigan's Gas Choice Customer Program. Secondly, the ongoing actions in order before the Commission for consideration this afternoon should also provide notice to all alternative gas suppliers currently operating or seeking to operate in the state of Michigan that the Commission will not shy away from commencing necessary actions and proceedings to protect consumers if our staff, through their investigatory efforts, finds evidence that a gas choice supplier or affiliated third party is engaging in deceptive marketing, untimely or unresponsive customer service, or other practices in violation of the alternative gas supplier rules. We encourage all alternative gas suppliers to redouble their efforts to ensure that their employees, as well as their third-party contractors, are abiding by the alternative gas supplier rules. And if the order is passed by the Commission today, we expect RealG LLC to intervene in docket U-21247 et al. By July 14th, 2022, if the company intends to make efforts to retain its alternative gas supplier license and continue its operations in the state of Michigan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Phillips. We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case numbers U-21247 et al. Is approved. And I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4C1 is case number U-18128, which involves an application filed by Detroit Thermal LLC for ex parte approval of an amendment to its steam sales agreement with Riverfront Holdings, Inc. for the supply of steam to the Renaissance Center in Detroit, Michigan. The order before you approves the amendment to the steam sales agreement.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-18128.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-18128 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4C2 is case number U-21240, which involves an application filed by Detroit Thermal LLC for ex parte approval of a steam sales agreement with Thermo Fisher for the supply of steam to its facility in Detroit, Michigan. The order before you approves the steam sales agreement.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21240.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote of those present. The order in case number U-21240 is approved. We've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the Commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we'll take public comments in the following order. First, individuals attending in person. Next, written comments from individuals using the Microsoft Teams live stream Q&A, then verbal comments from individuals submitting names in the Q&A feature and who have called into the meeting, and finally from individuals participating only through the phone option. If anyone attending in person desires to address the Commission, please come to the microphone. In case anybody's slow to get out of the chair. Okay, we'll now turn to public comments through the remote options. Again, if you would like to make a comment and have access to the Teams live stream Q&A feature on your computer, please enter your name and your comment, which will then be read aloud to the commissioners. This feature is available on the right-hand side of the control bar next to the mute button. As a reminder, the Q&A feature is intended for public comments directed to the Commission and not to engage with other participants or respond to their comments. After taking any comments to this feature, we will open up the phone line for those who called into the meeting and would like to address the Commission verbally. If you want to be queued up for verbal comments, please enter your name in the live stream Q&A feature and indicate that you wish to make a verbal comment, but please do not include your written comment as this will avoid duplication. I will first call on these names in the order received. After hearing from those individuals listed in the Q&A, we will ask if there are any comments from individuals who are on the phone line but not utilizing the online Q&A feature. Please note that you can only make verbal comments by calling into the meeting. When it is your turn to speak, press *6 on your phone to unmute. As a reminder, this public comment period is for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions. And when providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you are willing to share so we have that for our records. And finally, please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief so that we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. Ms. Cole, I believe you are again helping with this part of the agenda. Are there any folks who have entered comments in the live stream Q&A feature?
There have been no comments entered at this time. We have one request from Commissioner Paratek to comment.
Commissioner Paratek, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to comment. I wish I could be there in person with you, but unfortunately, I am stranded due to a flight cancellation. I would like to first comment on U-21090, Consumers Energy IRP Settlement Agreement, as was initially described by Ms. Koliopoulos. I would like to thank all of the parties who spent so much time and effort participating in the Consumers Energy IRP and negotiating settlement agreement approved in the meeting just now. I know it was a lot of effort to get to this result with 18 parties participating. This is a significant undertaking for a very important plan for our state. Ensuring we have clean, sustainable, reliable, and affordable electric capacity is paramount. And I echo the chair's comments on the improvements made to our capacity position. I also want to note the additional requirement in this order for staff to include a requirement for utilities to consider the impacts of its proposed course of action on the resource adequacy of its own customers, the local resource zone or interconnection zone, neighboring zones, regions, or regional transmission organizations, and the updated integrated resource plan filing requirements to be filed June 30th of this year. Maintaining a focus on reliability for the entire state remains a priority, and no individual entity operates in a vacuum. Thanks again to all who worked diligently for the settlement and who will continue to execute on this plan for our state's generation going forward. Then I would also like to make a brief comment on U-21099, the capacity demonstration filings as described by Mr. Harlow. Ensuring enough capacity for the state of Michigan is one of our primary responsibilities of the Commission. We must ensure safe, reliable, and accessible energy at reasonable rates to our electric customers in our state. Combined with the settlement agreement for Consumers Energy's long-range plans, this order will work towards ensuring Michigan continues to have the energy resources it needs, including opportunities to quickly bring new energy resources to the grid. I look forward to receiving comments from all interested parties on how we can best enhance our state's reliability and resource adequacy position. I also want to offer special thanks to our staff who did an excellent job working through this process and who continue to work to ensure that we have the proper resources needed to serve Michigan's residents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I hope that your travel back is uneventful from here on out. Ms. Cole, do we have anybody else who has expressed an interest in providing public comment through the Q&A feature?
Not at this time.
Okay, we will open up the phones then to anybody who has called in and would like to provide comment. You can do so by pressing *6. Again, if there's anybody on the phone who would like to provide public comment, you can do so at this time. *6 to unmute. And we'll give it one more time, *6 to unmute if you want to provide public comment. Okay, we will close the public comment period at this time. I do have a number of announcements today before we wrap up. First, earlier this month, we released our annual summer energy appraisal for 2022. It's obviously not a surprise that prices for energy products from gasoline to natural gas to electricity are all significantly higher than they were last year. That's a situation that's both concerning and one that we're tracking closely. I also think it's important to put the current pricing situation in context and remember that just 2 years ago, in the early days of the pandemic, crude oil actually traded in negative territory, meaning that producers literally had to pay people for each gallon of crude oil that they had produced just to store it. There was no market at that point. And that obviously sent a pretty clear demand signal, price signal to producers who did not want to continue to pay to stay in operation. And I think we continue to deal today with some of the long-term tail effects of that decline in production during the midst of the pandemic as demand has fully restored to pre-pandemic levels and production has not yet caught back up. And that's a situation exacerbated, obviously, by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia is one of the top 3 oil producers in the world, and more than 10% of global production comes from Russia. And so you've seen a decrease in reliance on both Russian crude and Russian natural gas. The fact that we're seeing higher prices both here in Michigan and across the U.S. and indeed globally, I think is a pretty clear result of that. Ultimately, this is a global market for gasoline and increasingly so for natural gas as well. We're seeing high exports from the United States to places with even higher prices, which is of little comfort, obviously, to Americans who are struggling. Long term, we expect the situation to stabilize both because of increased production in response to market signals and with lower demand, in part triggered by high prices, something that we're already beginning to see. But in the meantime, we recognize that this situation creates hardship for many Michiganders and want to reinforce that help is available, particularly for electricity and natural gas, some limited help in some instances for gasoline. Encourage folks to call 211 or to go to mi211.org or to our website, michigan.gov/MPSC, where you can find links to assistance programs for those who are struggling. Second, I want to remind the electric providers that the due date for whether they plan to participate in the Michigan Energy Assistance Program is at the end of this month. Providers need to submit information either on the total number of meters or that they intend to opt out. Under statute, if electric providers do opt out, they cannot shut off electricity during the winter months. And the statute also requires us to return the money collected in this program to the geographic area from which it was collected to the extent possible, meaning that if electric providers choose to opt out, they not only sort of limit their ability to collect that funding, but they may also limit the assistance of their customers for their heating needs, if it's through a different provider or even an unregulated provider such as propane. So we encourage participation in the program, and particularly given the high energy prices and expected need that we are seeing and expect to continue to see. Third, just a reminder that we do have an open position at the Commission for the manager of our renewable energy section. Longtime manager Julie Baldwin was recently promoted to be director of our Energy Operations Division, and so we're seeking to backfill that position. That position closes at 5 p.m. today, so you have approximately 3 hours and 11 minutes, and additional information is available on our website. Fourth, we just returned, in fact, not only commissioners, but a number of staff from the annual meeting of the Mid-America Regulatory Conference. This is a group of regulators from 14 states from across the Midwest and Plains, going as far south as Texas. It's the first time we've been able to hold the conference since 2019. and I think resulted in a number of productive conversations over the last several days. We were expected to host the conference in 2020. Obviously, that was canceled because of the pandemic, but we are looking forward to welcoming commissioners and others from across the MARC region to Grand Rapids next June, and planning efforts are already underway, but excited to show off all that Pure Michigan has to offer. And finally, June provides the opportunity to celebrate both Pride Month and the many contributions of the LGBTQ community, as well as Juneteenth, commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans and marking the anniversary of the announcement of General Order No. 3 by Union Army General Gordon Granger on June 19, 1865, proclaiming freedom for the enslaved people in Texas. And we still have, obviously, a lot of work to fulfill the promise of Juneteenth, but we want to take a moment each June to celebrate both Juneteenth and Pride Month. Any other announcements today? It was a fairly comprehensive list on my end. So, well, that concludes today's meeting. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 7th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Phillips?
A motion to adjourn today's commission meeting.
I second that motion. We will now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote of those present. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.